Lovely introduction of yours. And yes, guys, I'm at a little over $273,000 in personal sales. Um, and that did not just like happen overnight. Thank you, Ron, like I said, for that lovely introduction. And Ron, you're right. I think Nate D'Angelo is the only person here that has field trained with me behind a booth. Um, yeah, it's right, guys. The job gets a lot more fun when your customers absolutely love you, is the first thing I'll say this morning. If you want your job to be enjoyable, the longer you do it, enjoy your people is something that I will start us off with. Have your people enjoy you too, right? So guys, relationships is everything in this business. Relationships will create the next random $3,000 phone order for you. Relationships will create that massive SC1 and SC2 push. Think of it this way. Guys, imagine if over the next 2 to 3 week period of time, you committed to the process of building deep relationships with every customer that you meet with. And over that 2 to 3 week period of time, you seed planted not just your goals, but your personal story. And on top of your personal story, how your customers can support you the next time that they hear from you. And so, on a fresh note from yesterday, if you were with us yesterday, excuse me, some water. If you were with us yesterday for our SC1 kickoff meeting, you got to hear from Mr. Christian, who, I appreciate so deeply that he shouted me out in different ways and recognized what I've been able to talk to him about. Christian and I have worked together pretty closely on him improving his rapport on every demo and, him embodying the relationship side of being a salesperson. And something that I would love if you guys are taking notes, everybody give me a quick pin flip just so I make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, good. I see some pins. If you don't have your pen, do one of these that you're typing, making some notes. I love it. Well, guys, there's going to be a couple of things that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you guys my high powered rapport talk today. I'm going to put a little bit of a spin on it and actually give you guys just some real stuff to go take action on. Because yesterday was a lot about like I want to do all of these things. So today I'm going to actually give you quite literally all the questions that I ask my customers that just really get that conversation started. So there's three main pillars to building really, really great rapport on every demo. But first off, I have three main points to just kind of hit on. Number one, Christian had talked about it, is guys, if your rapport is taking 5, 10, 15 minutes, okay, we may not be getting the job done. So I'd like for everybody to do something really quickly for me. You don't need to know the exact number to the minute, to the second, but I want you to go ahead and everybody type how long, minute-wise, how long do you guys think you spend building a rapport with customers? Go ahead and type it in the chat for me. Go ahead and type it in the chat. How long do you think you build rapport before moving on to like getting the app set up? Let's put it that way. Okay. Haley Brooks, 30 minutes. No surprise. 10 to 15. 48 minutes. Awesome. 10 to 15. 15. Okay. Got it. See a couple more responses flowing in. Direct messages. 25 to 30, 25, 40 minutes. Good. This is good. This is good. That means, guys, that my talk over the last couple of weeks has hit, and I appreciate seeing this. Here's the thing. For those of you in that 10 to 15 ballpark range, I'd be willing to bet there's still a layer that you haven't folded out yet. Okay. The top reps in our entire division and nation, guys, spend more than 30 minutes. I know that to some of you guys may be a crazy concept. 30 minutes of rapport? That's wild. And here's the thing, guys. At the end of your presentation, you're asking a lot of your customers. So why are you not building a really strong, deep foundation so your skyscraper can grow? Okay. So the first thing I want to share with you guys is have a system in place that prevents you from not sharing your goals and not sharing or creating a relationship with your customers or just building rapport in general. What do I mean by having systems in place in your demo? Number one, do you have a timer or do you have a sticky note on your computer screen? Something as simple as that. Carson, talk to your customer for 30 straight minutes before you get into slide 3 or whatever it is, right? Um, I know that for myself, I see this story has done this, is guys have a vision board, have a dreams list, have a slideshow presentation of yourself, whatever you need that is easy to share with customers. Visual aids are fantastic. That's what I will tell you. Visual aids are fantastic. It shows your customer that you actually care about this part of the demo and that you're actually prepared and you've done some work ahead of time. Now, I can pull up a quick image of my dreams list. I have a page, and then I have multiple pages after that where each page is broken down, each goal subset. Um, I know that for myself, it's a fantastic conversation starter, guys. Dreams, goals, a life storyboard. One of my assistant managers from this past fall and spring, Andrea Woody, made a 4 slide slideshow presentation. And it was literally just a picture of her, her husband, and her, daughter. Okay. And so she would just talk about like her and her family. That was one. The second part was showing her college experience so far. So some of you guys that may be real, right? And then I know that some of you, for instance, like Nate, I'm looking at you. Nate, guys, he has another business that he's a part of. So Nate may be adding on to your slideshow presentation. Hey, I'm also another business owner, and I have these other things in my life that I'm not just a Cutco rep. And it is so valuable for your customers to see those things. So give yourself number one, a visual aid or a physical dreams, goals, aspirations, sharing avenue, something physical. And so, guys, I want to talk about how to share those dreams and goals effectively with you. Number one, like I said, I always have something to show my customer, even if that's as simple as, like I said, a document, Google Doc. The second thing that I love as a visual aid, guys, is a thermometer. A thermometer is so fire, you guys. Having a thermometer that is consistently filled out. Guys, I at one time in a push literally just got a scrap sheet of notebook paper, got a Sharpie, and just drew a thermometer on the sheet and scribbled it in with people's names next to it. And customers was like, let me put my name on the thermometer today, right? I bought a trimmer and they do like a little teeny tiny line across the top and they loved it. And they got excited at the end of the presentation to be able to participate. Okay, so engaging your customers really, really early on in what's a part of you. All right. The second one, guys, is, visual aid talking here is have something in those visual aids that seed plants throughout the rest of the demo. Okay. It's one thing to do really, really good at creating a conversation with customers and not just a presentation like Christian said yesterday. It's another thing to get them desiring to know, like want and know how they can support you. That's where you actually see the CPO on the back end. And guys, I'm always a huge proponent of explaining to every single customer of mine the different ways that they can support me towards my goals this year. And I'm going to be real with you guys. A lot of my customers, sure, they buy Cutco and provide me referrals and set me up for the future, and they support me towards my Cutco goals. But guys, you'd be amazed as to how many connections you're going to start making when you share those outside of Cutco goals. I actually shared with one of my clients on a service appointment about 2 months ago. Hey, my girlfriend and I are planning in about a year and a half to build a pond on our property, right? It's an ecological thing, we're going to enjoy it. And the guy goes, oh, yeah, here, let me give you all the contractors who helped us build our 20-acre pond at our property. And so now I don't even have to go look for work, guys. I just have direct phone numbers I can call up and I'm going to get a discounted rate for work at my house. All right. I've gotten people to do our gutters from referrals. I've gotten people to do all kinds of stuff with me. Okay. outside of Cutco. So just keep that in mind that there's a lot more to this than just, selling. But real quick, let's talk quality questions. So this is pillar number 3. Pillar number 1, visual aids, engaging your customers, use a tool. Number 2 is quality questions. So this is the part all of you guys are excited about, I'm sure. And if you know me, Nate, Katie, Colton, the folks in my office right now, you guys know I love quality questions. I am a deep thinker. But guys, that's been one of the most important parts of me taking my conversations with clients, my relationships with customers to that next level. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like you still spent a lot of time talking with the customer, but you never really felt connected with them. Like never truly felt like you could deeply trust them or vice versa. See a few hands, Colton, Ashley, Grant, Robert. Yeah, guys, Sweeney, Troy. Thank you guys. So here's the thing. I'm just gonna start dropping these, okay? I'm gonna just start in situ explaining how I might ask these deeper questions. But if you're asking yourself, what question should I ask? If you want to come up with your own, number 1, keep this in mind. Ask questions that provoke a conversation. Christian said it yesterday. Don't ask yes or no questions. That's boring. Ask questions that open the door to new conversation. The second thing I'll say on deep questions, guys, is ask yourselves these questions before you say them to a customer live and say, man, if some random person asked me this question, would I feel invited to talk about myself? So if you're like, I don't even know where to start, just be like, what would someone have to ask me about me that would get me talking for forever? That's it. What would someone need to ask me about me that would make me want to talk about myself? People love to talk about themselves, guys. So here's one. We're just gonna dive right in. And guys, if you have questions, we can save them till the end. But Mrs. Jones, like I mentioned earlier, you can see I'm working really hard towards like travel opportunities this year. I want to win my trip to Jamaica. Where are the 2 to 3 locations you wish you had the opportunity to travel to? And I like throwing in there just open, letting it open. Yeah, if you had unlimited resources, who would you bring with you? That's a good little nugget to add on top of a good question already. Because people love to talk about travel, and you're going to learn 2 separate things there. Number 1, if they're like, oh, yeah, well, I would love to go to the Maldives, but I went to Greece last year. You're like, really? How long were you in Greece? Oh, 2.5 months? Oh, okay. Got it. Keeping that in mind, right? Someone who travels to Greece on vacation just for fun just blew like $20,000. Easy. All right. And also asking, who would you go with? Draw that one out, right? Okay, well, cool. If you could bring 5 friends, who would be your 5 favorite people that you'd bring with you? Cool. Now you have 5 referrals. Good job. All right. So, where would you travel if you had unlimited resources? Who would you take? And guys, I'm going to share this document with you, so don't you worry. The second one is, and Miss Jones, like I said in my goals, I'm working here, so it provides me kind of flexibility, spend time with friends, family, not sacrifice relationships. What are some of your favorite experiences with family or friends? What are some of your favorite experiences with family or friends? What are some of your favorite experiences with family or friends? And just let that one breathe, right? Like let it out. Keep asking more. Here's another one. Miss Jones, as a young person, I want to have more clarity on my future at my age. What are some pieces of advice you would give someone my skill set in my age bracket or in my position? You could say, like, Hayden, I'm looking at you right now. You're like, hey, Miss Jones, I'm a college student, or I don't know if you are or not, but Miss Jones, I'm in college, or, I just started this job not too long ago, and I'm really trying to elevate my skill set. I'm trying to achieve X, Y, and Z accolade. What would be some advice that you would give someone in my shoes? Because you just got free advice. right? You learn a little bit more about your customer. All right, next one. Guys, customers love to talk about goals. Mrs. Jones, what is a personal goal that you have set for yourself in 2024? Why is that important to you? Right? It's gonna be a little bit weird, guys, if you talk about your goals for like 15 more minutes after that and you never asked them theirs. It's a little weird. How do you think that makes your customer feel, right? And you know what's super cool about this? And Ron kind of teed me up on this one. Is guys, yes, I do have customers who are raving fans about me. I had a phone call not too long ago where one of my past customers, she has ordered so much Cutco, it's not even funny. And she calls me, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, Anne, how are you doing? And guys, the conversation immediately picked up like we had talked yesterday. We haven't talked for 5 months. And I said, oh my gosh, Anne, how is the new boat dock at your second home going? I know that one of your goals was to get that done by the end of 2023. Did you get that? Holy cow, Carson, how did you remember that? And guys, she was like so excited. We talked for 25 more minutes before she even gave me her credit card about that. And then she was like, well, you just asked me about yours. How are you doing for your 2024 goal? I know that I saw in your email that you're shooting for X, Y, and Z this year. And so, guys, now we are relating on things that we share, with each other. And we drive each other to success. And that's where you actually are building a real relationship with customers. You're not just like in transactions. Okay. So, what is important to you? Why is that goal important to you? All right. I got a few more for you guys. You ready? Rapid fire. Miss Jones, at my age, success tends to all be about money. What is your definition of success? And I could vary that question all kinds of different ways, right? Ask your customers how they define success. All right. The next one, I'm going to let this one breathe out a little bit. Ron loves this question. Is Miss Jones, what is a question no one has ever asked you, but you wish they did? Now, some of you guys have heard me ask that question before. Okay. So that's not a new one for you. But what is a question no one's ever asked you, but you wish they did? All right. Let me give you a couple more. If you had unlimited money, resources, how would you change the world? God, that's a good conversation start. I see Ron giving me some snaps.
Dude, that was good.
How would
Repeat that, please.
how would they change the world? What were you
Please,
saying,
that
Ron?
was so good.
Yeah. Guys, what a cool conversation piece. If you don't talk about anything else for the rest of your report, that's 30 minutes of your day. Well, Miss Jones, this is how I might change the world if I had unlimited money and resources. What about you? Oh my gosh, you just opened a hot can of worms right there, folks. Okay, they're going to talk about that for forever. All right. And then I'm going to give you a couple that do build recommendations for you. A couple that build recommendations for you. Who do you love spending time with in your neighborhood? Who's the nicest family in town? Who do you know that has the biggest kitchen? Like you've literally ever seen, Miss Jones, like the largest kitchen that you've ever been into. Let me get their phone number real quick. Who do you know that could buy my entire Cutco catalog today? Miss Jones, if I had an appointment with them tomorrow, who do you know that could literally buy my entire catalog? You guys would be amazed. That lady, Ann Harrell, who I was just talking about, that's exactly how I got her phone number. I met with her sister who lives on the other side of the lake. And she goes, oh, yeah, well, you're talking to the wrong person here. My sister they make 4 times as much money as I do. She's a way better real estate agent as I am. She goes, how about you go talk to her tomorrow? I drove right over there again. All right. So, guys, I'm going to end our questions there, but I'm going to give you guys a 2, 3 last little nuggets. I'm going to give you guys a last couple of little nuggets here in terms of just how to implement this stuff, right? Because you could just be asking a lot of questions and then you're just weird. Okay. Number one, always ask for permission to go deeper. Always ask for permission. You will come off as a little strange if you just roll in there and you're like, Miss Jones, how you want to change the world tomorrow? She's like, that was a little out of pocket. Okay. Start slow. Okay. Start slow, Miss Jones. How do how'd you get into the neighborhood? What you work like? What do you do for work? Right? All those fun things. You guys know how to ask those questions. Okay. But always ask for permission. And Miss Jones, is it okay with you if I share some of my deeper goals? Some of my like not so obvious goals? Yeah, sure, sweetheart. I'd be happy for you to share those things. Okay, great. Ask for permission is one of my keys there to getting started into all this. Another key that I have there, guys, is always, always, always wrap back into Cutco slash your personal story slash referrals. Okay. You don't want to just leave it open ended, right? Okay, well, cool. We're going to go ahead and talk about some knives now, Miss Jones. Right, guys? If they say, for instance, oh my gosh, well, the people who I spend the most time with in my neighborhood are so and so and so and so and so and so, make the point of saying to them, that is awesome. I can't wait to network with them. I'm sure they'd love Cutco like you will. That is such an important part of asking these questions. Oh my gosh, that makes sense as to why so and so had referred you to me. You're such a deep thinker. Always give them a rationale. Okay. Always rationalize the response to the question back to what the current situation is. I can say for myself that's made a massive difference. Right. And then a lot of you are like, how do I even transition now into the demo? What if you're like so deep in a conversation? And my immediate gut reaction to a lot of you guys is don't. Like, don't. I've had demos, I kid you not, where I spent 40, 45, 50 minutes diving deep, building a relationship with my customer guys, and I sold sets of knives in 10, 15 minutes. Not because I can just like magically do some wizard Carson powers on my client. It's because the customer's like, Carson, we've sat here and I've looked at this blue book on my countertop for the last 45 minutes. Like, what should I buy from you? That, that is why rapport is important, guys. That is why rapport is important. Now, I will share with you, if you do get to a point where you're just bunny trailing all over the place, it's important for you to take back control. It is important for you to regain the conversation, gather it all back up. Just be, hey, whoa, Miss Jones, listen, I'm sure we could talk about, all kinds of different things for hours and hours and hours. But hey, I do have 5 other appointments on my schedule today, by the way, whether you do or not. Miss Jones, we've been talking for about an hour or so. I have about 5 other appointments I need to get completed today. So if you don't mind, we can like jump into the stuff. I want to save your time too. Right. And so customers, oh wow, yeah, you gotta definitely get going. Let's talk. Right. Urgency, but it's not rushed. Urgency, but it's not rushed. So right, Ron. I see that. I see that comment. All right. So guys, I want to give I'm gonna open up for 2 questions. 2 questions. Since you guys need to make money today and make some phone calls, I'm gonna have opportunity for 2 questions. 2 questions. You can raise your hand, virtually raise your hand, whatever you want. I saw somebody had a question a while ago, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of space for 2 questions. I see Troy Daniels' hand. Okay, Troy, I'll get to you in a sec.
I have a question also.
And Kaylee Brooks. All right. Those are gonna be our 2 questions for today, just to preserve our phone time. Troy, ladies go first. So Kaylee,
Okay,
love
so
to hear your question.
I kind of had this question coming into the talk, and it's kind of a very specific question. So I just wanted to ask you, what do you think could have possibly gone wrong with 2 of my demos where I had 30 minutes plus of rapport, and both of them were no sales, but they both gave me 40 recs. So they liked me, but I was just like, what do you think could possibly have gone wrong when it comes to like rapport? Because I feel like rapport could have been the reason why, like a big reason. I don't know. I just feel like, you know how in the beginning you were saying how sometimes you might feel like we don't actually connect with the customer. So I
Mm,
guess I'm having a hard time knowing if I actually am connecting with the customer as opposed to just having a hour-long talk.
yeah.
So what do you think could have possibly, I mean, I know you weren't there, but if you just,
I can probably imagine what happened. So there's two immediate responses to that, and I hope a lot of you guys probably experienced something similar. Where you're like, man, I felt like I really tried hard, right? My first response to that, and this kind of rhetorical question for you, Kaylee, to stew on, is number one is I would ask yourself, like, think inwardly and ask yourself, um, number one, was I talking more than my customer? And number two, was what my customer was saying back to me responses, or was it them leading the conversation? Right. So I would ask yourself that because that's the difference between you talking at people or you prompting a conversation and then them wanting to talk to you. Okay. And then the second part that I would challenge, the second rhetorical question back to you there, Kaylee, is I might ask yourself as well, did they know that the reason you went into all that depth and the reason that you tried to open the conversation up and get to what we call level three rapport, which, by the way, guys, level three rapport is when you get to emotional vulnerability. So, Kaylee, you may have been at level one or level two for 30 minutes, right? Where they'll talk about their kind of aspirations and things like that. But did you ask, like, did they start talking about family? Did they start talking about like cherished experiences even further so, right? Once you guys get into the nitty gritty stuff and like people kind of get a little bit emotional, perfect. It's where you're supposed to be. So I might ask that question to you. And then did they know how they could support you to your goals? That would be like my kind of rhetorical question back to you. Because you're right, guys. Like you can build an awesome conversation with people, but if you just they don't really know going into the next portion of your conversation, your demo, that there are so many direct, specific ways that they can buy from you, help you towards X, Y, and Z, and they're getting excited about that before they've even seen the product, then you're right, it may not be a sale. So those are two thought-provoking questions I would ask you. Is one, were you at emotional levels of deep rapport? Secondly, did they know how they could support you? And lastly, were you talking more than they were talking? Um, Helpful, Kaylee?
yeah, that's definitely helpful. I think for one of them, it was probably the second option, um, getting them to know how much they could help you. Because I'm pretty sure it was level three report, like the way the stuff we were talking about. And I always let my customers do like 80% of the talking and rapport. So, um, that
Yeah,
definitely helps. I was super duper frustrated with
I can
both of
imagine.
those demos. I mean, they both gave me 40 very good quality racks, so they liked me, and so I was just a little confused to why they didn't buy me like at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Also it probably boiled down to like not asking about money really early on. Like rapport guys is also like you're pre-closing already. It's done really, really well, right? Kaylee, I'm sure that you do report really, really well. It's like, are you asking pre-closing questions before you even talk about Cutco, right?
mm,
That like get there. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, you are gonna buy something today. In your head, you know this. Um, that would be another thing I'd ask you to think about. I'd love to hear from Troy, and then we're gonna move on to our phone jam with Mr. Jones here.
Yeah, so how do you know when you've built, say you spend 30, 40, 50 minutes on rapport, and then how do you know when to go to a 15-minute presentation instead of going through the full 45 minutes of presentation? How do you know when your rapport has reached that level you can just take 15 minutes to place the order?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. So what you're saying is, how do I know I need to like abbreviate my demo?
Yeah,
Um, because I've done some foundation laying in the beginning. My immediate response to you, Troy, is, and don't take this personally, but I'm also speaking to the masses on this call here, is I don't think anybody here should be intentionally trying to do a 15-minute demo. So
yeah,
just gonna lay that
I
out
agree.
there,
Yeah,
right? So like The reason why you might have one of those circumstances, though, is because the customer is in that state, not you. You get my point? There is a
Yes, sir.
difference, yeah, between your customer being like, okay, so like, wait, like, all I've got to do is like just buy like this basic set from you and like you hit your goal. That's where you're like at a 15-minute demo mentally. And it still probably will take longer than that. But in any other case, Troy, I wouldn't just be immediately trying to abbreviate things because all you're really doing to yourself is actually selling yourself short of what you could possibly show them, upsell them on, upserve them on. I could keep going. You get my point there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure that a lot of you guys would love to do a 40-minute demo, right? Where you're 30 minutes of report, 10-minute sales, in and out, bam, referrals are done, and you're gone. The unfortunate truth is that rarely ever happens, right? You do have to be with kind of the right customer, and they've got to be in a buying mood when you showed up, right? And the 30 or so, 20, 30 minutes of report. We kind of talked about like as like a 20-minute minimum is a really, really strong way to be where you need to be. It's probably twice of what most people will do. So Troy, to answer your question directly, if it were me, I'm myself and personally not trying to shorten up my like demo portion. My goal is I want to show them as much as I physically can while I have their attention and build their buying power as big as possible before we even talk about sales. Or excuse me, before we even like try and wrap up,
Okay.
before they feel rushed. So I would challenge that belief system is my response to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't really want to shorten my demo. Like I'm saying, if I have 2 hours with the customer and end up spending an hour, 45 minutes on rapport, um, I'm just trying to balancing the ratio between how much is actually Cutco presentation, how much is rapport.
Right,
But yeah,
right. And so
that does help clarify it a
that's
little
good.
bit.
Guys, Troy makes an awesome point here. Something I will just share with you is I'm getting another raise of hands. If you guys have ever felt like there are those little nitty-gritty parts of the demo that take longer than they need to be taking. Does anybody feel that way? Here, as yeah, I see some hands. Like maybe there's the awkward transitions or just weird liminal spaces in your demo. That's because, or excuse me, and what Rapport does is the oil to make the machine run faster and more efficiently. So, Troy, you'll naturally go through the things that do take longer in the demo, like the showing of the homemaker set or what have you, that and accessories and gadgets and all that fun stuff. That goes substantially faster when you have Rapport because your engine is well oiled. So, I hope that answered your question. Ron, you want to take us away? I went a little over time, so what's new?
So good. So good. I think it was worth it. Snaps, claps for Mr. Yates, the one and only. Really good content. And this is honestly just a glimpse of everything that we're going to get on Champs Club. And not only that, but SC1. I'm excited to see all of you in person so we can give our reports and have a chance to have a chance to meet each other and learn and grow as a whole. So Miss Haley Leroy, our Greenville district manager, excuse me, she'll be taking the phone jam. I'm getting ready to dive into training. So Haley, please, if you could get us rocking and rolling with some tunes. How many calls are you making this morning, guys? Show hands, ladies and gentlemen. How many calls? How many calls? 10. If you don't know, we're making 10 calls. 10 calls. That's it. I don't care if you have anything else going on. 10 calls. 10 calls a day keeps you over 1K. Remember that. 10 calls a day keeps you over 1K. Okay. So 10 calls this morning. Objective is to book up 2 to 3 demos. Haley, let's get rocking and rolling.